Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Dill. If it ain't Lane Kiffin, who are you taking down there in Gainesville? I think it's one thing that's been made very, very clear over the last 2 weeks. The administration down there in Gainesville, their number one choice is Lane Kiffin. We see y'all in the comment section. I'm on the message boards with many of y'all as well. The clear number one candidate from the fan base is Lane Kiffin. And Dill, I'll be very clear right off the rip, too. My favorite choice is Lane Kiffin. I think there's a very good chance Lane Kiffin is the next head coach down there in Gainesville. But if he's not, who are you taking? And this is something I want to be very clear about. I'm seeing some Florida fans have this take of it's Lane Kiffin or bust. That could not be, in my opinion, farther from the truth. There are so many coaching candidates out there that I think would be money hires down there in Gainesville. In fact, I got some names I want to take a little bit more of a deeper dive into. Del, I'm going to put you on the spot in just a sec before we do, and as always, to the Florida fans. Number one, appreciate you guys. The amount of feedback that y'all been putting in the comment section the last couple of weeks been amazing. You know, whether it's agreeing or disagreeing with some of the boys' takes on some candidates, whether it's just letting it rip with the thoughts of your own, this fan base has long showed a lot of support to the boys. Going to be a very exciting next couple of weeks and months. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And look, I spent 20 minutes making a little Canva graphic. If y'all disagree with it, let it fly in the comment section. And Dill, one thing, hey, off-season goal for the kid, let's step up the game a little to making these graphics. But y'all let it fly, Dill, and put you on the spot here. If it ain't Lane Kiffin, what name are you going with?
Yeah, I still think it's Eli Drinkwitz because I just look at Eli Drinkwitz as checking a lot more boxes than Jeff Brom or James Franklin and even Brent Key. Like Eli Drinkwitz to me is running a big time program. Like Missouri, again, they are not Florida, they're not LSU, but it's like knocking on the door of that like big job. I'd say he's doing an excellent job there. I think he's a really good staff hire. I think he's a good roster builder, and he can win a big game here and there. Like I look at Jeff Brom, like, yeah, I know he's a great coach, but there are some like holes in his game. Like, he is not a guy who puts a ton of effort into the recruiting.
Well, we'll get into that because look, it ain't that easy to be recruiting the high school.
I strongly disagree with that. I think Louisville is a place where if you have some energy and some juice, I think you can do better than being where he is on the rankings. And I think, again, if you're going to win championships, you got to find yourself in the top 10, and he is not putting them particularly close. And I don't really get the sense he's putting a ton of effort into it, frankly.
We'll get to that because I do think that is the one big knock on Jeff Brom. And we'll get
Eli
to that.
Drinkwitz, just there's no holes. He's doing a really good job at everything in Missouri.
And it's a really interesting phenomenon. And I think I said that word right, but I don't think I did. Hey, to the Florida fans that are really opposed to Coach Drink, but you love Lane Kiffin, let it fly in the comment section in terms of what's different about those two coaching candidates besides their persona, right? And look, Lane Kiffin has been at some bigger programs. Like, I think you certainly can use that as well. I look at both of them and say, number one, they both know how to build a roster in this modern era of the sport. Like, recruit high school pretty damn well, supplement really effectively in the transfer portal, both pretty dang bright offensive minds, know how to hire staffs around them. Both winning at under-resourced programs in the SEC. Outside of their personalities, outside of the charisma that maybe Coach Drink lacks a little bit, what's I guess, and I'm asking you this too. What's the big difference between Lane Kiffin and Coach Drink outside of their personality? Because Dill, when I look at it, I want to see both of them down there in Gainesville for very similar reasons.
And frankly, success on the field is really tight. You look at the past couple of years for Missouri, it stacks up really nicely. And frankly, I think there was a lot more building back probably at Missouri than there is at Ole Miss. So to me, I'm kind of with you. I think Lane Kiffin, again, and there are some like levels, like, yeah, I do like the fact that he kind of went back to the Saban school of hard knocks, if you will. I think that has been a really kind of successful avenue, if you will, for a guy like Steve Sarkisian. You obviously see a lot of the Saban tree doing a decent job in their own right.
Yep.
So I like that element about what he did, but I look at what Coach Drink is doing. He is about 10 years younger, which I don't necessarily hate. And
Yeah,
I look at the Missouri success. It's right there. It's basically the same as what Missouri or
see, I
close.
ain't gonna get at Lane Kiffin's age because I feel like Lane Kiffin carries himself
No,
younger than.
it's not even about like a guy like Willie Fritz who's 65. Like that's where the age is like, oh, I don't necessarily love hiring
Sure.
a coach
Fair.
like that at an LSU or Florida because you basically know you have like maybe 5 years if you're kind of lucky. It's more just like I mean, Coach Drink is like what he's doing at that age. I kind of get a good vibe about it. I think he handles himself maybe a little bit better than Lane Kiffin did, frankly, at that age.
That might be true. Lane Kiffin 10 years ago, loose cannon, man. I think I would agree with that. Here's a one argument where I'd almost give Coach Drink the edge as we're stacking these two, because I do feel like if I was a betting man, it's really hard to get a feel for where this thing's going. But if I was a betting man, I'd probably put my money behind one of Lane Kiffin or Coach Drink. That's just the
Now, I
vibe.
will say, as much as I just said all that, like Lane Kiffin's probably my guy. I would probably
Yeah,
still keep him as the number one target, as for me, if I'm Florida. But I do
I
think that like gap between him and Coach Drink is not as big as I
I
feel like a
just
lot
don't
of
see
people.
how they're all that different. I guess what I'm failing to understand is the Florida fans, and again, I really would hope to be enlightened because maybe there's some things I'm missing. Like, if you like Lane Kiffin, why are you so opposed to Coach Drink? Because I feel like they offer very similar skill sets. Here's the one thing that might be pro Drink here is I'm not entirely sold Lane Kiffin will. How hard will he recruit the high school ranks if he ends up at Florida? Coach Drink, I think, would consistently try to build top 10 classes and supplement in the portal. I'm still unsure of what it would look like if it was Lane Kiffin. And here's the other thing that I do kind of think matters, the timing of the hire. I'm not saying you make a hire based on the timing, but if Lane Kiffin is going to the playoffs, it looks like Missouri's probably not going to the playoffs. That 3 to 4 to 3-4 weeks or maybe a month, I think could be really big. Year one success for head coaches in this era of the sport, it freaking matters. Number two, one of the biggest jobs for whoever's going to be the next head coach down in Gainesville, I firmly believe it's getting this roster to stay somewhat intact. And look, you're going to lose some names. I think we can recognize that. But if you can keep the young nucleus around, you have the opportunity to win early down there. That's what makes this job so appealing when I look at it.
Because that
I'm
was going to be the like key if you were ever going to make an argument for Billy, it was that like we'll give him another bite of the apple with a championship roster because like that true freshman, true sophomore kind of junior class is a championship roster, no doubt
It's
about it.
awesome. And whatever coach can get there and keep that crew together, you put yourself in a really good spot for an opportunity to win early. And that's huge in this era of the sport. All right, let me cook on Jeff Brom real quick. And I understand why Florida fans might just be a little hesitant to buy into Jeff Brom. He is
There's not a
certainly.
great reason to be hesitant aside from the fact that like he hasn't put any sort of model together that feels like what a like again he feels like a perpetual underdog in terms of the way he builds a
Yeah,
roster.
but
That's what he,
perpetual underdog that continues to win. He's won the most games in the ACC out of any coach in that conference. And Dill, that's including Mario. That's including Dabble. That's including Mike Norvell. Mike Norvell is not even at the
yeah,
close to
what
the
are
top
you
of the
putting
list at
him
this
on there
point. Yeah,
for?
that just came to my mind. Here's my.
Tell me why Louisville's a place you shouldn't be able to recruit. That's what I need the answer to
I
because
don't
Louisville's
know.
not like this bum broke program. It's a good ACC
They have
program and
shown
they
that they're
recruit like the bottom.
using. They have shown that they're using their money in the transfer portal more. And maybe that has to do with when you first take over a job, you want to get your roster right immediately. And I think that's maybe what Jeff Brom did. It is my biggest concern. That's why Jeff Brom's not at the top of the list. I have a little bit of concern of what. Dylan, know who else we had concern about though? Mike Elko before he went to Texas A&M. When Texas
I don't
A&M
know
went
about
out and
that
hired.
because he was through the big pipelines. Like he recruited at Texas A&M when they were recruiting big time class. He recruited at Notre Dame when they had big time classes.
True.
To me, Jeff Brom has never in his life been at a relevant place where he's ever recruited at a particularly
But he's
decent.
also, okay, I think that's fair. And that would be the big question. Like if you're, and I think Florida's going to interview Jeff Brom. You
I
sit him
would
down for
because
the
a
interview.
winner. He does
Yeah,
have the Signetti kind of like, yeah, well, Google me, I win. He does do
big
that.
time Signetti vibes. And you sit Jeff Brom, and that's probably one of the questions you ask him. It's like, well, what's the vision? How are you going to build this roster? And I'm okay if they lean a little bit more into the portal. I don't know if Billy Napier did that enough. I loved what he did recruiting high school, developing players.
I wouldn't change a thing about the way Billy Napier built
Agreed.
rosters. I'd just change the thing about him being a loser.
Agreed.
Want
Agreed. And one of the conversations you have with Jeff Brom is, hey, do we think you can recruit at a high level to Florida?
Now that's
That's
where,
the first
again,
question.
we talked about it in the other, like Vince Marrow is kind of a very much an X factor because if they
Great
do
one.
bring him in as the GM, well, he is a dog on a bone as a recruiter. He is a, if he
Yeah.
was at Florida, he would recruit really good.
Yeah.
Again, I just do wonder, like, to me, I don't like the idea of being a Florida program that's not going to be consistently
Yeah.
kind of chasing top 5 classes. That would kind of make me sick a little bit.
Yep.
I get the portal. Yeah, you can lean into it a little bit. If you're going to be a perennial powerhouse, you got to be
Agreed.
big time in the high school
Agreed.
classes. In Jeff Brown, to me,
Hasn't shown you that.
whether it's willpower, whether it's just been he hasn't been in a place that can do it, he is not a
Okay.
recruiter.
So, Noah, you're pissing me off because you keep interrupting. I haven't even gotten to my pros with Jeff Brom yet because you're
You
so
know the
hung up.
pros. He's a
So,
winner and he's a smart offensive mind.
no, that's not. No, you don't even scratch the surface to what Jeff Brom offers a program. And we gonna get into it, but I will say that that's your biggest concern. I will completely grant you that. If he answers those questions in the interview and gives you confidence he can recruit to Florida at the high school ranks, winner, yeah, Western Kentucky, won at Purdue. Purdue's hard to win at, now winning at Louisville, right? And when you say elite offensive mind, I'm putting him in the conversation with Lincoln Riley, with Lane Kiffin, with Coach Sark. They all get the media attention. I'm taking Jeff Brom just with that group, right? He made Tyler Shuck. Tyler Shuck went in the top 50 in the NFL draft. Tyler Shuck stinks, right? So it's the quarterback offensive mind, which I think matters.
Yeah, but you're not
play.
there to be 10-4 at Florida. You need to be 11-2 and competing for championships.
Why?
And
Well,
that starts with the talent.
I don't get why, but that doesn't make any. I mean, well, here's what I'm saying is like you give Jeff Brom that roster that Florida had this year, they ain't going 10-4, and I don't even know where he got 10-4. 10-4 is a wild record. And
Well, that's
they're
kind of
going
what he does at Louisville. If we're looking at his
10-4, so because he lost the conference title game and then lost the bowl game. Okay, I was wondering where we got 14 games from. Yeah, good. Dill's got Google for everybody wondering. You give Jeff Brom that roster. I think Jeff Brom's taking that team to the college football playoffs, right? And here's the other thing.
I have no doubt about that, but I feel like that's an assumption that you can't just make.
Agreed. And can I highlight one thing that I really do think is important? Having a really, really good coach, I think, is giving you a leg up these days. Like, look at how the SEC is playing out. The talent's pretty dang even, right? The talent's pretty dang evenly dispersed, and you're seeing the coaches who are worth a damn win games, and you're seeing the Billy Napiers of the world. You're seeing the Hugh Freezes of the world. You're seeing the Shane Beamers of the world. You're seeing them struggle. That's not a. It
No,
sounds
that's
a
a
little
good
bit of a
point.
knock.
Like coaching now does matter more. Like you
Feels
can't
like
just be a talent accumulator and be a successful coach. That is 100% true. We're very much seeing that play out. I just think you need both. And I think if you're at Florida, you should expect to have both in your coach.
Agreed. Okay, I'll ask you this. Jeff Brom comes to Florida, recruits, let's say top 15. Top 15 classes to Florida, supplements well in the portal. What's Jeff Brom doing at Florida?
I don't love the sound of top 15 if that is like in the
top
10,
12. All right, let's bump it up a little bit. Top 12.
Oh, he'll probably be like really, yeah, he'd be big time for sure. No doubt.
I think so too.
Big time.
And then the question is, can he do that at Florida? All right, James Franklin. He seems to be. It's like Lane Kiffin, Coach Drink, two more like that. That's the top tier of like the buzz.
You even looking at James Franklin, if we're being perfectly honest, if you're Florida, like I don't interview him. I don't see the point. Like if you're gonna hire James Franklin, just go hire Brent Key because at least like Brent Key I don't know if he can win big games and has like the moxie. And there's something about James Franklin that is to me
Okay.
like, yeah, Nick Saban gets up there says, "Oh, it's so unfair he got fired." It's not unfair that he got fired. You can't go 10 plus years and never beat the big
Okay.
dogs in your conference. And I'm saying
So
like ever. I mean, he
can,
won one, and it's just it's
can
not
I
good enough.
can, okay, I think that's fair. Can I ask you this? Do you think James Franklin at Penn State, when it came to recruiting, when it came to talent acquisition, they've only, and I think Florida fans know this because I've said it before, they only had 2 top 10 classes in the last decade of James Franklin's tenure. Do you think that was more James Franklin can't recruit, or Penn State might not be the attractor of talent, might not have the firepower that
Oh,
we think it
it's no
does?
Florida, that's for sure. But I look like
Okay.
I mean,
So here's
that's
here's
one
my
part of
follow-up
it.
though.
Like,
Can
I
I
think
let me
he is a very good recruiter, but I don't think
You
that
think
makes
James
up
Franklin is?
Oh,
Because
yeah, yeah.
here
No, I think
here's
he's good.
what I'm trying to get at is everybody wants to get on his ass about not beating Ohio State. They recruit at a different level. Ohio State and Penn State pretty damn consistently. And so like what if James Franklin comes to Florida?
Yeah, but you couldn't, like, get you a window where, like, you get your Michigan kinda run. You can't, like, get at least
No,
a
yeah,
window of it
because
and,
this
like,
was
that
his window and he completely
and that's kinda my issue. It's
yeah,
like this year, like, yeah, you could always argue about talent. I think Penn State gave him what he would've needed to be really competitive, and,
yeah,
like, I don't know if
yeah,
the
fair.
pressure got to him. Frankly, I think if you look at the way he gets his guys going in big games, very real problem, and, like, we talk
Okay.
about Billy in that same respect, frankly.
Well,
I
Billy's
don't
bigger
know, did you
problem.
feel like
Billy's bigger problem was he is
did you ever
Saturday.
feel like Penn State, like, had anything juice-wise in big games? Like, you look at what that
Yeah,
offense does and how
fair.
stagnant they are for,
Yep.
like, again, 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
to me, it's like if I'm Florida, like, that's such a safe hire, like, what's
Yeah.
the point? Then you shouldn't have fired Billy Napier, frankly, if you're gonna go get
Well,
James Franklin. I
no,
don't get it.
because Billy Napier's look,
That's true. Billy Napier will lose, like, a USF
you go
title.
6-6 pretty
James
like
Franklin
James.
doesn't do that to you, but
Yeah,
I don't know, it'd just be such an uninspiring hire to me.
yeah.
I think he's so mediocre.
I think that's know who James Franklin would be really good at Florida State. Just
A
get
perfect
a dang
perfect fit.
solid head coach that can build the foundation right. Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, Brent Key 5. Ask me why he made the list. Okay, I'll ask myself why did he make
I
the
know why he
list?
made the list. He's done an excellent job at Georgia Tech. No doubt about it.
Brent Key is Billy Napier, but hires a really good play caller. Same vibes, right? Tell me I'm wrong about that.
I guess I
Brent
can
Key,
see
Billy Napier remind me of themselves, but Brent Key puts away his ego. He's an offensive line guy and says, "Hey, I'm going to build the roster the right way. I'm going to build the line of scrimmage. But hey, Buster Faulkner, I'm going to bring you in. You dial it up on offense." And that's led Brent Key to a lot of success at Georgia Tech. And that's the thing is that, hey, get someone that kind of reminds you of Billy when it comes to running this program and building the roster and getting players better. And then I'll ask you this: put Buster Faulkner down there calling the offense at Florida.
that'd be
Billy
fun.
Napier probably still has his job.
I don't disagree with that. Again, I Brian Key to me probably is the non-premier name I look at because I do think like even with like the Billy Napier comp, like I love the way he's kind of rebuilt that culture in Georgia Tech. I
Yeah,
look at the way he's able to
yeah.
retain guys who I almost get surprised he can retain a little bit. I The coaching staff hires have been unbelievable because that is a program that is not well resourced. I don't care what anyone says. I know they're in Atlanta. That is not a program that I think gives him a particularly great chance to win. And he really does punch above that. I think he is to me like what he's built at Georgia Tech. I just would love the idea of him being in a big school. But he's also again
Don't you have to take calculus at Georgia Tech?
yeah, you do have to take
Come on.
calculus. I know the football players. I
Uh,
would if I was a big time football player, I'd not be taking calculus.
Well, I straight up didn't make it through calculus. I had to take a good thing the school I went to didn't make me, but I tried. I gave it the old fashioned try. I made it 2 weeks. That'll be. I mean, I do. And here's the other thing. Aside, like I don't even know why I thought of that. Been in Georgia for a really long time. Spent some time in the state of Florida. From Alabama, that hotbed too, right? And he's been doing as good of a job as I think you can like recruiting at Georgia Tech. It's just like
Well,
you
because
said,
he's
very
won
limited.
some big battles, and that's the big
Yeah.
thing. Like you show, like, yeah, if he gets into Josh Perry with Florida, Florida State, and like Georgia, like that's a big, big battle. Again, I
Mhm.
know people talk, oh, well, they gave him some money. It's like, yeah, every school is going to give him some
Well,
money. He's still, to me,
even
like, he's put himself in some big battles. He's won some big battles. I think, like, again, comparing him to maybe like a Jeff Brown. Now, Jeff Brown's certainly a better football mind, I'd probably say, than
yeah.
Brent Key, but at least like he puts himself in the mix and gets his share.
Here's the thing I've realized about Georgia Tech. So when I was thinking about Brent Key, is like I follow Hayes Fawcett on Twitter, and I'm sure if you're listening, you should probably do too. With all those Twitter graphics, I've been seeing Georgia Tech's logo in a lot of graphics, man. Like they find them. I don't know, they ain't landing all of them, but they find themselves in those battles, and I think that speaks to Brent Key. Those are my 5. Hey, any name I left off the list that you would you want to toss into there real quick?
It's probably still to me a Summerall. I think John Summerall in terms of like that,
Yeesh.
like
Yeesh.
again, I know like yes, the
Yeah.
Sun Belt Billy, Sun Belt
I mean,
John, like
you
it
just
was,
the Florida fans are gonna light you up there.
but
You know
like
what's coming.
I do like kind of like his energy. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just it would
I
just
don't
be
hate
a
it
little
either.
feel.
I don't hate it either. All right, that'll close it out. Let it fly in the comment section. Fun conversation, dude. We haven't been able to get into other coaches not named Lane Kiffin, and so it kind of allowed us to do that. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.